The vast emptiness of space around Earth was disturbed by the arrival of three large ships. They appeared suddenly, their smooth metal hulls reflecting the distant sun as they moved into orbit. On board the lead vessel, Admiral Torren stood tall, his scaled skin gleaming under the bright lights of the command bridge. "Primitive," he said, looking at the scans of Earth, "but interesting." Torren was a respected leader in the Galactic hegemony, a powerful group of 37 alien species that ruled most of the known galaxy. For thousands of years, they had brought new worlds into their empire. Some joined willingly, others needed to be shown their place. "Their weapons are basic," said his science officer, "but their bodies are strong. They heal quickly and adapt to many environments." Torren nodded. "The Council wants them brought in peacefully if possible. Prepare the landing party." 3 hours later, 5 smaller ships dropped through Earth's atmosphere, landing in an open field where human leaders waited. The world's nations had quickly united when the alien ships were detected. Now they stood together, nervous but hopeful. Captain James Miller led the human delegation, a tall man with a weathered face and steady eyes. He watched as the alien ship's door opened with a hiss of air. "Remember," he told the diplomats beside him, "we represent all of Earth today." Admiral Torren stepped out first, his 7-foot frame towering over the humans. Behind him came 6 guards and a translator. "People of Earth," Torren said, his words converted to English by a small device. "The Galactic hegemony welcomes you. We bring knowledge and technology in exchange for your allegiance." Miller stepped forward. "We're honored to meet beings from another world. But Earth is independent. We hope for friendship, not rulership." Torren's eyes narrowed slightly. This wasn't the usual grateful acceptance he expected. Before he could respond, something went wrong. One of the human security officers shifted his hand toward his radio. A nervous hegemony guard saw the movement and fired his weapon. A beam of energy hit the human, killing him instantly. Chaos erupted. 3 more diplomats fell before anyone could react. Miller dove to the ground, shouting for everyone to take cover. Earth's military, waiting nearby, responded immediately. Gunfire erupted toward the aliens. To everyone's surprise, the bullets pierced the aliens' armor. Torren hadn't expected resistance, so they hadn't activated their shields. "Back to the ships," Torren ordered, firing his own weapon. Miller watched as the aliens retreated, dragging their wounded. Earth forces managed to shoot down 2 of the 5 landing ships before the rest escaped to orbit. Back on his command ship, Torren called an emergency meeting. "They killed 17 of our soldiers," he said, anger in his voice. "The Council must know of this defiance." 2 days later, the full Hegemony Council received Torren's report. The Council members, each from a different species, debated what to do. "These humans are dangerous," said one. "More than we expected." "But primitive," said another. "We should crush them now, before they advance further." The vote was quick. Earth would be made an example of. The hegemony could not allow any species to resist them. Before leaving Earth's orbit, Torren sent one final message to the planet below. He demanded surrender and threatened destruction. The response came from Captain Miller himself, his face grim on the video screen. "You fired first," Miller said. "You killed our people during a peaceful meeting. We defended ourselves." Torren began to speak, but Miller cut him off. "You should leave now," the human said, his voice steady and cold. "And if you have any sense, you'll never come back." Torren laughed. "You don't understand what you face, human." "No," Miller replied. "You don't understand what you've awakened." As the hegemony ships disappeared into the darkness of space, Earth began to prepare. The first interstellar war in human history was about to begin. 6 months passed since the failed first contact. During this time, Earth changed. Countries that once fought each other now worked together. A single goal united them: survival. In the depths of space, Admiral Torren stood on the bridge of his new flagship. Around him, 300 warships gathered. It was the largest attack fleet the hegemony had sent in over a century. The humans have had time to worry, Torin said to his officers. They will surrender when they see our power. One officer, a blue-skinned female named Vex, looked troubled. Admiral, our xenobiologists have studied the data on humans. They are unlike other species we've encountered. They don't react to threats as expected. Torin waved her concerns away. All species fear superior force. Prepare to enter their system. The massive fleet jumped through space, arriving at the edge of the solar system. Immediately, they detected activity. Earth had placed warning sensors throughout their system. Send the message, Torin ordered. Demand their complete surrender. The response came quickly, but not from who they expected. Instead of a frightened politician, the face that appeared on their screens belonged to General Diana Walker, head of Earth's newly formed Defense Council. We reject your demands, she said calmly. We will defend our world. Torin was surprised. Most species fractured under pressure, with different regions fighting for favor from the hegemony. These humans presented a unified front. Begin the attack, he ordered. Target their Mars outposts first. The hegemony fleet moved toward the Red Planet, where humans had established small colonies. Torin expected an easy victory to break human morale. He was wrong. As the first ships approached Mars orbit, they were met with unexpected resistance. Small, fast human ships appeared, launching weapons that somehow penetrated hegemony shields. Impossible, shouted the weapons officer. They've adapted our shield technology. In the short months since first contact, humans had studied the wreckage of the two downed alien ships. Teams of scientists, led by Dr. Alexander Reed, had worked day and night to understand and replicate the technology. In the battle above Mars, the humans revealed the fruits of their labor. Though outnumbered, they fought with unexpected tactics. Their ships would fly in patterns the hegemony computers couldn't predict. They used Mars itself as cover, hiding behind the planet and striking when least expected. General Walker watched the battle from Earth Command Center. They expected us to be easy, she said to her staff. They don't understand humans yet. By the end of the first day, the hegemony had lost 27 ships. It was a small fraction of their fleet, but more than they had lost in their last 3 conquest campaigns combined. On his flagship, Admiral Torin paced angrily. How are they doing this? They were primitive just months ago. Sir, Vex said quietly, humans appear to learn and adapt faster than any species we've encountered. Torin stared at the battle displays. The humans were retreating from Mars, but it was clearly tactical, not a rout. They had bloodied his fleet and were preserving their forces. This will not be the quick victory the Council promised, he admitted. The Admiral sent a message back to the Hegemony Council. The subjugation of Earth will require more time and resources than anticipated. The humans are problematic. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Miller, now promoted to colonel, met with General Walker. We hurt them today, he said, but this is just the beginning. Walker nodded. Did you see how surprised they were? They thought we'd be easy to defeat. They don't understand what humans do when threatened, Miller replied. We don't just fight to survive. We fight to win. As the hegemony fleet regrouped, Earth prepared for the next battle. The war for humanity's future had only just begun, and already the invaders were learning a painful lesson about underestimating humans. 3 weeks into the war, the hegemony leadership held an emergency meeting. Admiral Torin stood before the council, trying to explain the unexpected situation. They learned too quickly, he said, frustration clear in his voice. In just 3 weeks, they've copied more of our technology than any species should be able to in years. On the main screen, images showed human ships now using weapons similar to hegemony designs. The council members murmured in concern. How is this possible? Asked the council leader, an ancient being with gray skin and 6 eyes. A hegemony scientist stepped forward. Humans have something unique. Their brains form connections faster than other species. They see patterns where others see only chaos. Back on Earth, Dr. Alexander Reed hadn't slept properly in days. His laboratory was filled with alien technology from captured hegemony ships. Teams of engineers and scientists worked around the clock, taking apart devices and rebuilding them with human materials. "Look at this," Dr. Reed said, holding up a small metal object. "Their power source is based on principles we theorized but never managed to build. Until now." Across the room, another scientist successfully activated a copied alien device. The team cheered. General Walker entered the lab, looking tired but determined. "How soon until the new ships are ready?" "2 days," Reed replied. "Maybe less." Walker nodded. "Good. We're changing our strategy. Instead of facing the hegemony fleet directly, humans launched guerrilla attacks on supply lines. Smaller, faster ships would appear from hiding, strike quickly, and disappear before the larger hegemony vessels could respond." Admiral Torin watched another supply ship explode on his monitor. "They're not fighting like a civilized species," he complained. "There's no honor in these sneak attacks." His second-in-command, Vex, had been studying human history. "Sir, humans have always fought this way when outnumbered. They call it asymmetric warfare." Torin turned to her. "And does your research say how to defeat it?" "No, sir," she admitted. "It says it's very effective against overconfident enemies." The Hegemony Council sent reinforcements. Another 200 ships joined Torin's fleet. The war escalated further. Meanwhile, Major Thomas Gray led a special forces team on a daring mission. Using a captured hegemony shuttle, they approached a command ship disguised as a supply vessel. "Stay calm," Gray told his team as they docked. "Remember your training." The 12 humans, wearing stolen hegemony armor, moved quietly through the ship. When they reached the bridge, they struck fast and hard. 20 minutes later, the entire command ship was under human control. "Command, this is Gray. The Major radioed Earth. Package secured. We're bringing it home." The capture of an intact command ship was a turning point. Earth scientists now had access to the hegemony's most advanced technology, including their faster-than-light travel systems. Dr. Reed couldn't believe his luck when the ship arrived. "This is it," he told General Walker. "This is how we take the fight to them." A week later, the Hegemony Council received alarming news from their intelligence network. Humans were building their own FTL drives. "Impossible," one council member said. "It takes a species centuries to develop that technology." The scientist who had been studying humans shook his head. "You don't understand these creatures. They don't just adapt to survive. They adapt to dominate." Admiral Torin watched as his carefully planned blockade of Earth began to fail. Human ships would appear where they shouldn't be able to reach, strike, and vanish again. For the first time in his long military career, Torin felt something unfamiliar: doubt. The hegemony had conquered hundreds of worlds over thousands of years, but none of those worlds had been like Earth. None had been home to humans. 2 months into the war, the fighting reached a stalemate. Humans couldn't push the hegemony fleet out of the solar system completely, but the aliens couldn't break through Earth's defenses either. In a secret meeting room on his flagship, Admiral Torin faced growing problems. "Our supply lines are stretched thin. The humans attack from nowhere, then disappear." "Sir," said Vex, "there's another issue. Some of the member species are questioning this war." Torin slammed his fist on the table. "Questioning? The Council's orders are absolute." "Yes, sir. But this conflict is lasting longer than any in recent memory. Some see it as wasteful." Far from this meeting, on a small space station near Jupiter, Colonel Miller received an unexpected visitor. The small ship had approached with a signal that wasn't hegemony standard. Miller entered the secure room where the visitor waited. Inside stood a slender, pale-skinned alien with large, gentle eyes. Not a species he recognized from the hegemony forces. "I am Ambassador Lyra of the Valerians," the alien said in perfect English. I come seeking alliance with humans. Miller's hand stayed near his weapon. The Valerians are part of the hegemony. Yes, Lyra nodded sadly, but not by choice. Many species in the hegemony are effectively slaves. We do as they command or face extinction. Over the next hours, Miller learned the truth about the galactic hegemony. It wasn't the united civilization it appeared to be. The founding 7 species ruled over the others through force and fear. Your resistance has created cracks in their power, Lyra explained. For the first time, some of us see hope. Miller brought the ambassador to Earth to meet with General Walker and the Defense Council. What can you offer us? Walker asked directly. Intelligence, star maps, communication codes, and eventually, allies. 3 other species wish to join your cause, but fear hegemony reprisal. Within days, Earth had formed a secret alliance with the Valerians, the bird-like Aerith, the crystalline Mindari, and the gas-dwelling Joxians. Each provided crucial information about hegemony weaknesses, but secrets rarely stay hidden in war. A hegemony spy discovered the alliance and reported back to the Council. Their response was swift and brutal. The traitor worlds will be punished, the Council leader declared. Admiral Toran, take your fleet and make examples of them. The hegemony ships moved away from Earth, heading toward the Valerian homeworld. Toran hoped this would finally break the human resistance, showing them the cost of defiance. Instead, it united them further. We can't let them destroy our allies, Colonel Miller argued in the emergency council meeting. General Walker nodded. Agreed. But defending 4 worlds will stretch our forces dangerously thin. Then we'll be thin, Miller replied. These people reached out to us when it was dangerous to do so. We won't abandon them. Earth sent its newly built fleet, equipped with reverse-engineered FTL drives, to defend their allies. It was humanity's first military action beyond their solar system. The battle over the Valerian homeworld was fierce. Human ships, though fewer in number, fought alongside Valerian defenders. When 3 human captains sacrificed their vessels to save the main Valerian city, the news spread quickly through the hegemony ranks. Admiral Toran watched the battle reports with growing concern. They're dying to protect aliens they just met. This makes no sense. Vex, who understood humans better now, explained. Sir, humans form bonds quickly. Once they consider someone an ally, they'll fight as hard for them as for their own kind. As the battle ended in a costly stalemate, word spread through the hegemony. The news wasn't just that humans could fight well. Many species could do that. What terrified the hegemony leadership was learning that humans would willingly die to protect other species. The hegemony had ruled through fear for millennia. Now they faced an enemy that inspired loyalty instead. 1 year had passed since first contact. The war had changed in ways no one expected. Earth ships now traveled freely through space, using the FTL drives they had built from hegemony designs. General Walker stood before a 3D map showing hundreds of star systems. Red dots marked hegemony worlds. Blue dots showed Earth and its allies. It's time for Operation Wildfire, she said to the gathered commanders. We take the fight to their territory. Colonel Miller, recently promoted to general himself, nodded. They never expected to defend their own worlds. They've always been the attackers. On the other side of the galaxy, the Hegemony Council was in chaos. Several members shouted over each other. How are humans attacking 3 of our manufacturing worlds at once? They're using our own jump points against us. Their ships are smaller but faster. Admiral Toran watched silently. He had warned them from the beginning that humans were dangerous. Now they finally believed him. The council leader turned to Toran. Admiral, we give you emergency powers. Do whatever is necessary to end this human threat. Toran bowed. I will not fail. The war grew more brutal. Hegemony forces began bombing civilian targets on human colony worlds. The death toll rose into the millions. On a small outpost near the edge of human space, families huddled in underground shelters as hegemony ships leveled their city above. A mother held her children tight as the ceiling shook from explosions. "Will we die?" her young son asked. "No," she answered firmly. "Earth will send help. Humans don't abandon their own." She was right. Within hours, human ships arrived, driving off the attackers. But the damage was done. The colony was in ruins. News of these attacks spread quickly. Rather than breaking human resolve, it hardened it. Recruitment for Earth's space forces doubled overnight. "They think this will make us surrender," General Walker said in a worldwide broadcast. "They don't understand humans at all." Back on Earth, Dr. Reed worked with scientists from allied species to develop new weapons. His team focused on one critical project, a device that could disrupt hegemony FTL travel. "If we can trap their ships in normal space," Reed explained to General Miller, "we control where and when we fight." The project was nearly complete when the hegemony launched a major offensive. 500 ships attacked human positions across 3 star systems simultaneously. The battles were fierce. Humans and their allies suffered heavy losses, but held their ground. The fighting spirit of the human forces amazed their alien allies. "Why do you keep fighting when the odds are so bad?" a Valerian officer asked the human captain during a brief rest between attacks. The captain smiled grimly. "Because humans don't know when to quit. It's our greatest flaw and our greatest strength." After 2 weeks of constant fighting, Dr. Reed sent an urgent message to General Walker. "The FTL disruptor is ready for testing." Walker immediately ordered it installed on Earth's largest warships. If it worked, it would change the course of the war. As the new weapon was being prepared, Earth sent a final message to the Hegemony Council. It appeared on screens across their ships and homeworlds simultaneously, showing how deeply humans had infiltrated their networks. The message was simple: "This is your final warning. Withdraw or face extinction." Admiral Torren saw the message and laughed. Empty threats from a desperate species. His aide, Vex, wasn't so sure. "Sir, everything humans have promised so far, they've delivered." Torren dismissed her concerns. In his mind, the hegemony could not lose to these newcomers. It was impossible. He gave the order that would lead to the largest space battle in galactic history. "All ships will attack Earth directly. We will end this war at its source." As the massive hegemony fleet began to move, Vex whispered to herself, "They warned us to run." The largest fleet in hegemony history entered the Sol system. Over 700 warships moved toward Earth, their weapons charged and ready. Admiral Torren stood proudly on his flagship's bridge. "Today we end this annoying resistance," he announced to his officers. "The humans will learn their place in the galaxy." Earth's defense forces seemed small in comparison. Just 300 ships formed a protective line around the planet. General Walker and General Miller coordinated from the orbital command station. "All ships in position," Miller reported. "The FTL disruptors are ready." Walker nodded. "Let them get closer. We only have one chance at this." The hegemony fleet moved deeper into the system, past the orbit of Mars. Torren was surprised by the lack of resistance. "They're finally showing wisdom," he said. "Perhaps they'll surrender without more bloodshed." Vex wasn't convinced. "Sir, humans don't give up. This feels wrong." Torren ignored her. "All ships, maintain course. Prepare main weapons for Earth bombardment." When the hegemony fleet reached the halfway point between Mars and Earth, General Walker gave the order: "Activate the disruptors." Across 50 human ships, the new weapons powered up. Waves of energy spread outward, creating a bubble in space that disrupted FTL travel. Half of the hegemony fleet was caught inside. "What's happening?" Torren demanded as alarms blared across his ship. "Our FTL drives are offline," his engineer reported. "We're trapped in normal space." This was exactly what Earth had planned. The trapped ships could neither escape nor receive reinforcements. The Battle of Sol had begun. Human ships attacked from all directions. Their smaller size made them harder to hit, while their weapons, now as advanced as the hegemonies, caused serious damage. From a small stealth ship just outside the battle, Major Thomas Gray led an elite team on the most dangerous mission of the war. Their target, Admiral Torrens' flagship. "Remember, we want him alive," Gray told his team as they approached the massive ship. Using the chaos of battle as cover, they docked at a maintenance port. The 12 human soldiers moved through the ship, fighting their way toward the bridge. Gray had studied hegemony ship layouts for months. He knew exactly where to go. On Earth, massive defense platforms activated. These orbital weapons, built in secret during the year of war, fired on the hegemony ships that tried to break through. The battle raged for hours. Losses mounted on both sides, but the hegemony forces were surrounded and cut off from escape. As the tide turned against the hegemony, something unexpected happened. Ships from 7 more species within the hegemony suddenly changed their signals and began firing on Torrens' forces. "More defectors," Miller said with a grim smile. "They sense which way the wind is blowing." On Torrens' flagship, the Admiral watched in horror as his perfect battle plan collapsed around him. "This is impossible. We are the hegemony. We do not lose." The bridge doors exploded inward. Through the smoke, Major Gray and his team entered with weapons raised. "Admiral Torren," Gray said calmly, "in the name of Earth and its allies, you are now our prisoner." Torren reached for his weapon, but stopped when he saw his officers already surrendering. For the first time in his long military career, he had been defeated completely. As Gray's team led him away, Torren asked, "How? How did primitives defeat the greatest power in the galaxy in just 1 year?" Gray looked at him with steady eyes. "You weren't fighting to survive. We were fighting to win. There's a difference." News of Admiral Torrens' capture spread quickly through the battle. Without their leader, many hegemony ships surrendered. Others fought to the end and were destroyed. By the time the battle ended, the hegemony had lost over 500 ships. Earth and its allies had suffered heavy losses too, but they had won the most important battle of the war. As General Walker looked at the victory reports, she knew the war wasn't over yet. But for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that humans would not just survive this war. They would reshape the galaxy. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on neutral ground. The space station orbiting Jupiter had been transformed into a meeting place for peace talks. The Hegemony Council, once proud rulers of most of the known galaxy, now sat on one side of the large round table. Their numbers had shrunk. Of the original 37 species, only 22 remained loyal to the Council. On the other side sat the human delegation, led by General Walker, along with representatives from 15 former hegemony species who had joined the Human Alliance. The Council leaders spoke first. "We are prepared to discuss terms for ending this conflict." Walker nodded. "Good, because we are prepared to continue it if necessary." The peace talks lasted for 2 weeks. The hegemony initially demanded Earth's surrender and punishment for the rebel species, but they had no power to make such demands anymore. Instead, it was Earth and its allies who set the terms. "The galactic hegemony will be dissolved," Walker announced. "In its place, we establish the Galactic Confederation, where all member species have equal voice and rights." The Council protested, but their objections fell on deaf ears. Their fleets were destroyed, their armies defeated. They had no choice but to accept. At the signing ceremony, Admiral Torren watched from the side. As a prisoner of war, he had been brought to witness the end of the empire he had served for his entire life. General Miller, now appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the new confederation, approached him. "Your empire lasted thousands of years," Miller said. "You should be proud of that." Torren looked at him with a mixture of respect and bitterness. "We should have destroyed your planet when we first found it." Miller smiled. "Yes, you should have. But you were too confident." "How did you do it?" Torren asked. the question that had haunted him since his capture. How did humans defeat us so quickly? We've been fighting ourselves for thousands of years, Miller explained. You just gave us a reason to stop. The terms of the peace treaty confined the remaining hegemony loyalists to their core systems. They could no longer build warships or venture beyond their borders without permission. Earth, meanwhile, became the heart of the new confederation. Species that had been enemies just months before now worked together, sharing technology and resources. Dr. Reed led a new Galactic Science Council, where the brightest minds from all species collaborated. The pace of technological advancement exceeded anything the galaxy had seen before. Humans don't just adapt technology, a Valerian scientist observed. They improve it. 1 year after the peace treaty, a memorial was unveiled on Earth. It stood in the same field where the first contact had gone so wrong. The names of those lost in that initial meeting were engraved in stone, alongside a simple message: "We warned them." Ambassador Lyra of the Valerians visited the memorial with General Walker. Many in the galaxy still fear humans, Lyra admitted as they walked among the monuments. They say you are too aggressive, too ambitious. Walker looked up at the stars, now filled with possibilities instead of threats. They're right to be cautious. We are dangerous when threatened. But you are also loyal friends, Lyra added. That is why so many chose to stand with you. As children from Earth and various alien worlds played together nearby, Walker smiled. This is what we fought for. Not conquest, but connection. The galaxy had changed forever. The age of the hegemony was over. A new era had begun, one shaped by the most unexpected species of all, humans, who had emerged from their isolated planet to reshape the stars. And it had all started because an ancient empire had failed to heed a simple warning: run.